when we think about meditation, what comes to mind? I'm sure some of you are like, right? Or just the word relaxation, stress-free, zoning out, right? These are all kind of pretty common descriptors for meditation, right? Meditation is actually a technique that you use to train your mind to become familiar with something. Now that's a little vague, a little broad, but that is really the definition of meditation. You're training your mind to become familiar with something. Why? Right? Because the more familiar you are with something, what? The easier it is to do, right? The easier it is to do. So now a lot of people get into meditation for relaxation, right? Lori, free the mind and relax the body. Great definition. Like relaxation is probably the main entry point, right? So how is meditation relaxing you based on now this kind of definition of training our mind to be familiar, right? So meditation is not pulling relaxation out of the air, right? What it's doing is it is training you to become intimately familiar with the version of yourself that is relaxed. Now, you might be sitting there and saying, Keith, you don't know me. I don't have a relaxed version at all. Right? And I'm here to tell you, you do. And if you think hard enough about it, even if it doesn't seem to show up a lot, it is there. There have been times where we've been very relaxed, chill, cool about problems, thinking objectively about problems, that kind of stuff. And our goal is to reduce the amount of effort it takes for that version of you to show up, right? Because right now it takes effort because we don't have a lot of familiarity with that version of ourselves. So think about something you're really familiar with, like a physical thing, like walking, riding a bike. If you ride a bike, talking, right? I mean, talking, right? Talking is a good one. So we have been talking a long time. I don't have statistics on how many words you've said, but I suspect it's a lot, right, in your lifetime. And so talking comes kind of natural, right? It's almost instantaneous. I'm sort of thinking about what I'm going to say, but then it's just happening, right? It's very natural. It comes effortlessly. So what about when you were a little kid? My brother just had his first kid. He's not talking, right? And when he starts to talk, it's going to take some time, right? At first, it's not that clear. There's a couple noises, and then maybe there's actually some words coming out, but there's no sentences. So over time, between you being a little baby and now, talking has become progressively easier because you're more familiar with it. The same is true for anything you've learned. Walking, like I said, riding a bike, whatever you do for work, right? All of these things over time, as they become more familiar, they start to flow a little bit more naturally to us. Now, same is true with stuff we don't really like anger, anxiety, right? Maybe we've been dealing with anxiety for a while. That's how I got into meditation, right? Seems to come naturally. You don't have to really try to be anxious. It just kind of shows up, and then it's hard for you not to be anxious. This isn't because you're, inescapably, inherently anxious and, this and that. It's just that you've had a lot of practice being anxious, and so your mind goes there very easily. Right? So what we're doing with meditation is we are beginning to dictate what our mind is familiar with. What do you want to be familiar with? Do you want to be more familiar with patience than anger, for example? Right? Cool. So, with meditation, and we do start using it as a relaxation tool, because when your mind is very busy, I don't know if you've noticed, it's kind of all over the place, and then it's not really, it's hard to kind of focus on what we want to focus on, which is really important for training our mind. So our first step is to what is called pacify your mind. And we use breathing meditation as a technique to do this, to clear out some of the clutter in our mind. Why? Because when we clear out that clutter, what happens, right? We relax a little bit. Who's showing up? Our relaxed, peaceful self, right? Oh, hey, what's going on? And, it might just be a quick visit at first. Oh, hey, you're leaving already? No. But over time, the more that we practice, that relaxed self is going to show up more often, going to stay for a longer amount of time, all from us training our mind to become super familiar with the things we want it to be familiar with. So, it sounds lovely. So like I said, we're going to start by learning breathing meditation. And this is more formally called single-pointed concentration. So that is a fancy definition for focusing on one thing, right? We're not multitasking. Now, you are an expert at multitasking. I don't even know you, and I know that you're an expert at multitasking because we all are. We're all experts at multitasking. And some of us are like, I'm not a good multitasker. But if you think about like your day, I mean, it's amazing the stuff that we're doing seemingly simultaneously. It's more like we're jumping from thing to thing, right? We're looking at our phone and then, oh, I forgot I got to do that thing. And then, right, we're always multitasking, which is great for getting stuff done, but not the best for being super relaxed while doing it all the time. So with single-pointed concentration or breathing meditation, we're going to choose to focus on one thing. We're going to choose to focus so exclusively on our breath that there's not going to be any room for all that other stuff that's going on in our mind normally, right? We're going to kind of simulate like being in the zone or, flow or something like that. Like, there's a lot of different things people call it. But what happens when you're in the zone? Maybe you're working on a project at work, right? What happens? Lose track of time, forget to eat, noises of the office or home, like they kind of aren't there anymore. We're so single-pointedly focused on something that other things fade into the background. So that's what we're going to do with breathing meditation. We're going to focus on our breath. And then anytime we catch ourselves drifting, our mind is going to be like, hey, what the heck are you doing? I got stuff to think about. Hey, how about this? That happened earlier. We're going to be like, whoa, not right now. And then we're going to bring our attention back to breathing. That's the process. Choose to focus on your breath. Notice when your attention drifts, bring it back. That's it, right? And what we're doing there is we're training our mind to obey our commands, right? We're saying, hey, no, we're focusing on our breath right now. And there'll be resistance, but the more prolific that we get at doing this, our mind is going to get used to doing this. And this is where we start to see a really great transformation about becoming familiar with specific thoughts, concepts, mind states, all from training our mind to do that. Okay? I talked a lot. So we're going to do a breathing meditation now. And like I said, instructionally, pretty straightforward. You're going to focus on your breath. I'm going to guide us through this so you could just listen to me. But we're going to focus on our breath. Notice when our attention drifts. Bring it back. That's it. Cool? Okay. Make sure you're comfy. You do not need to sit on the floor. Common question. You do not need to sit on the floor unless that is comfortable to you. You can sit in a chair like I am. You can lay down. You can do whatever you want. I don't know. Maybe you like hanging upside down. Do whatever you want. Whatever's comfortable for you is what you should do. All right? And you can go ahead and close your eyes. I'm going to guide us through about a 5-minute breathing meditation. Okay. Whenever we start a meditation, first take a moment and check in. Ask yourself, how am I feeling right now? In this exact moment. We're not thinking about our day that has passed. We're not thinking about what we need to do later. We're just taking note of how we feel now. We're practicing mindfulness. Mindfulness is an active awareness of your own thoughts moment to moment for the purpose of being able to respond in a skillful manner to those thoughts. So just check in. And having done that, you can now make a choice. Choose to focus single-pointedly on your breath. Breathing in and out, gently, naturally. You do not need to take big, deep breaths. You do not need to forcefully exhale. Just breathe as you normally would. In, out. As you begin to relax a little bit into your chair or cushion, single-pointedly focused on each moment of each breath. Follow the journey of your entire breath as the air enters your nose, sits, and then exits. Single-pointedly focused on breathing in and out, gently, naturally. At some point, you may catch yourself drifting a bit. Your attention is being pulled away from your breath, maybe to something that happened earlier today or something coming up later after this class ends. Whenever you notice that this has happened, we can just very gently say, not right now, to those thoughts. We'll get to them later. And then guide your focus back to breathing in and out, gently, naturally. Following each and every moment of your breath. This moment, which turns into this moment. This moment. Keep bringing your attention back to breathing whenever you notice it drifting a bit. This process of choosing to focus single-pointedly on your breath, noticing when your attention drifts, and being able to guide your attention back to breathing, that is meditation. You are meditating right now. You are training your mind to relax, to be calm, to access the peaceful you that's always there. You're training your mind to focus on what you want to focus on. And right now, that's breathing in and out gently, naturally. So just for the next couple of moments, continue to breathe very casually and just enjoy sitting here. Okay. When you're ready, you can open your eyes. Oh, Janelle likes sitting in a chair with wine. Can't argue that. Cool. So maybe that was your first time meditating. How'd it go? Hopefully it went pretty well. Probably one of two things happened. You're either like, wow, my mind is all over the place. I was not able to keep my attention on my breath that long. Or you're like, hey, I did okay, right? So if you had the experience of your mind kind of being all over the place, and I'm here to tell you that I've been meditating quite a long time, and my mind still goes all over the place some days, right? Some days that's how it is. If that was your experience, really what's happening is you're starting to see how busy your mind is all day long. Think about that, right? Kind of exhausting to think about. That's why we're so mentally exhausted. Our mind is constantly, pedal to the floor, right, all day. So sometimes when we try to encourage our mind to focus on one thing, our mind's like, hey, we're wasting time here. We got stuff to think about, right? So it's a mind shift, right? We have to train our mind to enjoy focusing on one thing. And that just takes practice, just like anything else. Learning to walk, learning to ride a bike, learning all these cool things that we've learned in our life. It's just through repetition, right? So this is no different. Training our mind is no different than training our body. Cool? Okay. Any questions on what we just did or kind of meditation in general 101? Today's topic, we're not going to stray too far from some of the things that we were talking about. So maybe some of your questions would be answered. Okay, so if you do have any questions, feel free to let me know. But I'm going to move on. And today, like I said, we're talking about different styles of breathing meditation. So this is really important, in my opinion, because, Mary, harder to get my mind relaxed. So, yeah, and if I had to say one thing that is really difficult when, I was going to say starting meditation, but it's still difficult when you've been meditating a while, is not going into the meditation being like, or like when you finish, like, oh, that wasn't good, right? So there like isn't really a good and a bad, because, Mary, like you're experiencing today, harder to get your mind relaxed. Tomorrow, maybe not, right? Your mind, it's like passing weather through your mind, right? And that's fine, right? Just because today your mind is really busy doesn't mean the meditation isn't working or something like that, right? You're training your mind to do this thing, and it's going to take time. And look, maybe you're meditating for 50 years and you had a tough day. That's life. That's how it is, right? So just be patient with yourself and it'll start to flow more naturally. Cool. So I think learning different styles, formats of meditation is really important, because we are all very different learners. I'm not like a psychologist or whatever, but there's all these different learning categories. Like you're an auditory learner, or you like to see it written down, right? Or I don't know, you just like to get your hands on or something like that, right? There's different types of ways that people learn, and it's not like one way is better than the other. It's just that one way might be better than the other for you, and that's fine. And so meditation is no different, right? So we're going to look at 3 specific different types of breathing meditation. We just did one of them. And then at the end, I'm going to quickly just touch on a 4th type of meditating that I think we'll do in our next class. Because I think it's really good. It's very practical, and I'd like to dedicate a little more time to it. Right. So, when we are thinking about breathing meditation, really important when we're like trying to figure out how we're going to start a meditation routine, right? Really important to think about, well, which one what's going to work for me, right? What is going to work for me? And so let's talk about different things that may or may not click with you. So the first one is what we just did. And that's a very traditional, it's like sensory based breathing meditation, right? So thinking about what our breath feels like, right? We're kind of just like, I'm just going to breathe and I'm just going to focus on that. And I'm just going to kind of take that all in, right? Sort of like if you were going to say, here's an interesting example. Like if I was going to say, tell me how to drive a car, you'd be like, oh, I don't really feel like doing that. But you'd be like, okay, well, here's the gas and, this and that. You tell me the mechanics of driving. But if I were to ask you, well, what does driving feel like? You'd probably be like, what? What are you talking about? You just drive, right? So there's this difference between like an intellectual analysis of something or understanding of it and an experiential understanding of it, right? What does driving feel like? Now, you might not be able to put that into words. I probably can't. I actually definitely can't. But you know it, right? In like deep down, you can think about it. Like you know it, but you can't verbalize it, right? So that's because you have a very deep familiarity with driving on like an experiential sensory level, right? And so with this first meditation that we did, we're kind of trying to do that with our breath. We know how to breathe, right? We've gotten this far. We know mechanically how to do it, but what does breathing feel like? Right? That's the difference between an intellectual understanding and tacking on an experiential understanding. Now, this type of meditation has a lot of great benefits, right? We gain a very deep familiarity with our breath, right? And you can have very deep meditations doing this. Another interesting aspect is once we start to really kind of like plug into our breath and some of the sensory things that are going on, well, we start to notice some subtleties, right? We notice our chest expanding and contracting, or shoulders moving, or the way the temperature of the air feels like as we breathe in. All of these things that are there all the time that we kind of just ignore, we're starting to see them, right? It's like the window is getting clear and we're starting to see all these cool things. So that's great, right? This is one of the benefits of a sensory-based breathing meditation. Now, sometimes this type of meditation can be tough if your mind is very anxious, or your mind is you're coming into this like with a super busy mind, because we're kind of, there's less of a strictness to it, right? We're not like, hey, we're doing this, and this. We're like, okay, we're focusing on our breath, and we're kind of just chilling with it. So maybe if you're feeling really anxious one day, you might find a sensory-based breathing meditation to be a little difficult. You have to experiment to see, right? So that leads me to the next style of breathing meditation, which is an offshoot of this, and it's called a counting meditation. Not accounting. We're not punching in numbers, but counting meditation. So counting meditation is basically the same thing to start. We're focusing on our breath, right? Whenever we get distracted, we're bringing our attention back, but we're adding something in. And what we're adding in is giving our mind a job. So instead of being like, hey, mind, just enjoy being there with your breath, kind of nebulous like that, We're like, no, mind, you have a job. Very important. You're counting your breaths, right? So we're going to breathe in and out, and then we'll say 1. You can just think it. You don't have to say it. In and out. 2, right? So really what our focus is on counting, right? But the methodology and the practice and what we're getting out of it is exactly the same. We're focusing single-pointedly on something, in this case, counting our breaths. We're noticing when our attention is no longer 100% focused on counting our breaths. Maybe we lose track of what number we were on. And then we're like, oh. And then we bring our attention back and we start over at 1. Right? So this is the... You'll see a pattern here, is that everything we talk about is the same format. You focus on something. Whenever you notice you're not focusing on that thing exclusively, you're bringing your attention back to it, right? So in the first one, our object of meditation was our breath, like the sensory experience or our breath. This one is going to be about counting. And this type of breathing meditation is really good for anxiety. Trust me, I know. I deal with it quite a lot. So when we're really anxious, sometimes it can be helpful to give our mind like a hard line job, right? You're counting, right? So it doesn't wander and catastrophize and ruminate on all of the things that are going on in our mind. So if you're dealing with anxiety, or if your mind just happens to be really, really busy, or maybe you're somebody who likes like to-do lists, you kind of like having a very strict plan, this is a really good one to try. Cool? I want to try it now. We'll do a short meditation, but I'm going to reiterate this a couple times. This meditation isn't better or worse than the last one. So if you do this and then you're like, wow, that was way better. I like counting, but hey, no, Keith did that other one first. Maybe that's like the better one. No, it does not matter. The method doesn't matter. The result is the same. Cool? It's like a tool in a tool belt, so to speak. Okay, so let's do a quick counting meditation. And it's going to be pretty similar in format, but remember, what we're going to be focusing on is counting our breaths. Whenever you lose track, even for a moment, you forget, your mind starts to think about what you got to cook for dinner or for breakfast tomorrow, or, you're just like, what was that, 2? Or as soon as that happens, we just bring our attention back and we start over at 1. Cool? Okay. Go ahead and close your eyes. Just settle in again. And you can return your focus to breathing in and out. Gently, naturally. Only this time, we're going to add in something extra. Every time you breathe in and then out, you're going to count. Say 1. In and out. 2. In and out. 3. Whenever you notice your mind drifting, or you've lost count, no big deal. Just guide your attention back and start again at 1. Very gentle, very smooth breathing. Not worrying about how we're sitting. We're not worrying about how we're breathing. We're just counting each and every inhale and exhale. That is your only job. In and out. 1. In and out. 2. And just check in again. Where has your mind been? Is it drifting? If so, no big deal. Just guide your attention back to breathing. Start again at 1. And just check in another time. Be honest with yourself. Have you been drifting a bit? No big deal. Start again at 1. In and out, gently, naturally. And now, just for the last couple of moments, don't worry about counting. Just sit here, decompress. Allow yourself to enjoy feeling slightly more relaxed, just for a little while. Okay, when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Counting. So, some of you might have counted up, you might have gone, maybe counted to 20 or something, I don't know. But the goal is not to count to 100 or whatever, right? The goal is always, with meditation, the goal is to notice when your mind is drifting and be able to kind of guide it back, right? So whether we're doing sensory-based meditation or counting meditation, it doesn't really matter. There's no kind of bar we're trying to hit. The bar is just noticing when we're not doing the thing that we wanted to do. That's it. And then we're like, bring our attention back. So it's the exact same methodology, but we are using a different kind of way of getting to that goal. Patricia, much easier to have the job of counting. So here, great example, right? So Patricia, we just did 2 meditations, right? And you're like, hey, this one was easier. Okay, done. You are going to stick with counting meditation and just do that, right? Because it doesn't matter. It's like I said, it's not like, oh, well, counting meditation's easier, but it's not the real way. Like, no, that's not like a thing. Meditation is meditation. All meditation is choosing to focus your mind on one thing, noticing when it's not doing that, bringing it back. That's it. Doesn't matter how you get there. Perfect. All right? Awesome. Patricia is a counter. Cool. Anyone else had a kind of maybe different experience of the two different types of meditations, and maybe they were both kind of the same for you. That's also fine, right? I do think that counting is really good for when your mind is anxious. That's one thing I would recommend. And I just say that because that's why I got into meditation, and it's been a big focus of mine working on anxiety. And I found it to be really great, right? So box breathing 4-4-8-4 or whatever. Cool. I really didn't know what that means. And look, again, you can do the counting thing without like numbers. Like some people like to use letters or like go through the alphabet. It doesn't matter. It does not matter. It's just a method, right? Mary, better this time. Second time around, got to 31. Oh, Mary, you should be teaching the class. That's pretty high up. That's great, right? That's awesome. And the counting thing is kind of cool. You get to every once in a while you'll be surprised. Like, wow, I got up to 20 or whatever. That's kind of cool. Cool. Okay, so we did like sensory meditation, also just known as traditional breathing meditation. We did counting meditation, which is great for when our mind's really busy or anxious. And then the third one we're going to talk about today and do is imagery-based meditation, right? So if sensory is really great for kind of finding these subtleties about our breath, and counting is really great when our mind is anxious or busy, well, imagery is really great for kind of exploring things, right? We're exploring different ideas and concepts, and we're doing it all with our imagination. 4, breathe in 4. Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. So the 4-4-8-4 breathing technique. Yeah. Do it. Like, that's fine. And what's happening there is, even though the kind of format of counting is different, the goal is to make you focus on a job, something that requires a level of focus, counting in this way. Why? Anyway, all those other things that you normally worry about, they're starting to go over they're going over there. Right? Really good. Awesome. So imagery, we're using our imagination a little bit here. And our imagination's pretty cool. I don't know if you've noticed, but our mind is crazy powerful. Like, think about this. I don't know if any of you have been to the moon, but I would guess not. There's not that many people that have. And if you have, please share, because I have I'm kind of a geek about space, so I would love to talk to you. But how long would it take you to get to the moon if you left right this very moment? I don't know, but it wouldn't be instantaneous. But how long would it take you to imagine you're on the moon? It's done. You just did it, right? Our mind can take us to places, make visualizations, create scenarios, right, that we can picture so vividly that we can really gain some interesting insights from it, even if the situation is not actually happening to us right now. All right. So this is the kind of power of imagery-based meditation, and it's really good for kind of exploring a little deeper into, well, I'll use anxiety as a example. Counting meditation might relax us from being anxious, right? But using imagery meditation, well, maybe we can start to make a connection between something that makes us anxious and start to think about why. This is kind of bordering on contemplation, right? Which is an offshoot of meditation, right? Imagery is a really great way to explore things. And it's also a really great way to relax. And some of us, I would imagine, are visual learners, right? And so when we're training our mind, we're not like drawing, or we're not seeing letters written out. We can imagine those things, right, in our mind just as vividly as if we were doing them. So that's what we're going to do, right? So we're going to do an imagery-based meditation, and this one will start the same again. We're just going to settle in a little bit by breathing, and then I'm going to guide us through just a very kind of simple imagery relaxing meditation. And if you find yourself gravitating to this, well, there's really infinite things you can do with imagery-based meditation. Like maybe you want to imagine, I'm not going to do this one because I think I did it recently, but imagining you're like a piece of wood in the ocean, right? And we're just kind of bobbing up and down, right? We can link that with our breath, right? Breathing in and out, the waves up and down, right? And so we're making an interesting connection between the ocean and relaxing and our mind, and we're being creative. Like we're really getting some really deep, interesting experiential examples of relaxing through using our imagination. It's kind of fun. Okay, so we're going to do it. Again, you can go ahead and close your eyes, and we'll start with just a very, very short breathing meditation. I always like to start by just getting used to breathing in and out and get back in that kind of pattern. And then I'll guide us through a little imagery exercise. Okay? All right. So once again, just for a couple of moments, breathe in and out. Don't think too much about it. Just breathe. Just sit. We're kind of transitioning from discussion mode to meditation mode. So we're just taking a moment to make that change. And breathe in and out gently, naturally. So in addition to paying attention to the way breathing feels like, or paying attention to counting, we can also use our imagination to create interesting images that we connect with our breath. So I'd like you to imagine that every time you exhale, you are breathing out like a dark smoke. Just imagine it. Every time you breathe out, you're breathing out dark smoke. And this is representing all of the stress, the worries, your anxieties, your to-do lists. We're breathing it out in the form of dark smoke. Just imagine it. Allow yourself to see the dark smoke leaving each time you exhale. And watch it dissipate into the air around you. And now, every time you breathe in, I'd like you to imagine that you're breathing in a warm light. Sunlight, warmth, all of these things. You're breathing it in with each inhale. This represents you breathing in happiness, peacefulness, kindness, joy, gratitude, all of these wonderful mind states that we can have. We are breathing them in. We're taking them in with each inhale. Just imagine it. And now we're going to combine them. So every time you breathe in, we're imagining a white light, warmth, sunlight. We're breathing it in. And then every time we exhale, we're breathing out dark smoke. Really trying to visualize it. Allow your mind to do what it does. To paint a vivid picture of breathing in warm white light and breathing out dark smoke. And if at any point you find yourself getting distracted, no big deal. We can just put those thoughts aside and bring our attention back to breathing in the warm white light, breathing out the dark smoke. And finally, just for the last couple of moments, as we breathe in the white light, breathe out the dark smoke, we can imagine that we're breathing in all of the things that we want to be. Kind to ourselves and others, happy, calm, whatever that comes to mind when you think of those things, we're breathing them in. And then we are letting go, breathing out of all of our worries, anxieties, and stress. Okay. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Welcome back. So one thing I really like about this style of meditation, imagery, right? And here, where the imagery we're using is of white light, dark smoke, but it can be anything you want. Doesn't really matter. But the point is that we're making a connection, right? We're almost like we're using our mind in like a really kind of creative way to make a connection between relaxing, like breathing out our stress in the form of dark smoke and breathing in all these good things that we want in the form of white light. And so the more that we do this, our mind is going to start to become familiar with that connection, right? And so if we do this kind of imagery-based meditation, we can really start to settle in quickly to a relaxed state, because our mind is kind of recalling some of this imagery, right? We're making a mental connection with this image that we're kind of just thinking about, right? It's kind of cool. So I really like this style of meditation because I find, for me personally, that it really puts me there, right? Like I lose track that I'm Keith sitting behind my computer because I'm so kind of, my mind is creating this image of the, white light, dark smoke, right? Just like the example of going to the moon, thinking about going to the moon, right? We can really imagine it, almost like we're dreaming, right? So I really like this. I think it's cool. It is definitely a little bit more kind of nebulous, right? So again, you have to kind of think about what's going to work for you. And while you're getting started, I would recommend trying a couple, right? See what goes on, see what happens, and then be honest with yourself about what you kind of connected with and just stick with that. You don't have to like bounce around. Just if one jumps out to you, you're like, hey, I like counting, like Patricia said. Cool, go with that, right? Doesn't really matter. The goal is the same. Cool. Mary, thanks. That was helpful. Good. I'm glad. Yeah, I think it's important to kind of have a bunch of tools in the tool belt, right? Because we never know what we're going to need to use. So I mentioned that I was going to talk about a fourth one, and I'm going to save that for our next class, which will not be next week. I will not be here next Wednesday. It'll be the following Wednesday. My sister is coming to visit. I'm very excited to spend some time with her. So I will not be here next week, but the week after, we're going to talk about one of my favorite ways to meditate, and that is taking the activities that you're already doing in your day, mundane activities like brushing our teeth, right? And we're going to think about how we can turn them into a meditation practice, which is great because we're all very busy, right? And we already brush our teeth each day. So wouldn't it be cool if we can take this activity that we normally just kind of do and think about other things, and we're using this as our practice time. So we're going to get a little creative with and expand the definition of meditation. So it's one of my favorite classes to teach. I do encourage you to come or watch the replay because I do think it's a very practical way to start to train in using meditation. Cool? All right. If you had a good time, awesome. I had a good time. I always have a good time with you guys. Come back for our next class. Just another gentle reminder, it will not be next week. It will be the am I here the week after? It might be 2 weeks. I got a lot of travel going on. I will post on my YouTube channel the next class, and we'll focus on this style of activity-based meditation that I was talking about in that class. So come on back. And if you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel and you would like to, that'd be awesome. I'd put a big smile on my face. And it's cool for you too. You get notifications whenever I'm going live. So maybe you're busy one Wednesday and you get a little notification like, hey, I got some time. Let me drop in and meditate for a little while, right? So if you wouldn't mind subscribing to my YouTube channel, that'd be awesome. And if you are really into this, you're like, hey, you know what? I really connected with meditation. I think it's a cool thing. I'd like to see where it can take me, what it can do for me. I offer one-on-one classes, and they're very laid back. I do them over Zoom. It's all virtual. And the beauty of the one-on-one classes is we can focus on something that's very specific to your life. Right. So maybe you've been meditating a little while. You're like, I know all these different styles of meditation, Keith. And you're like, I'm here for feelings of jealousy. I don't know. We can focus on that, right? So if that's something that's interesting to you, email me and we'll find a time that works for us to meet. I'm going to put my email in the chat right now. You can also email me any questions that you have as you're doing meditation on your own. Here it is. Keith at meditationbreaks.com. Looks good. Great. No spelling errors. Fantastic. That's the most stressful part of this live stream, is me typing that. All right, let me catch up. Keith, appreciate these Wednesday sessions so much. Always learn or am reminded of meditation, kindness, or whatever topic you're covering. Thanks. Yeah, I really love these classes. And honestly, I couldn't do this without you guys. And I know that we're all really busy, and I am very appreciative that you take time out of your day to be here every week to learn, because I love teaching, and I couldn't do that if you weren't here, right? So thank you. Appreciate that. Barbara, first time. Oh, I'm glad. I hope you had a good experience. Barbara, I know that I'm not gonna be doing a live session next week, or maybe the one after. I have to look. But I have all my old sessions up on my YouTube channel, so take a look. Maybe you're like, oh, I wanted to learn about how I can be less anxious with meditation. We have a bunch of classes on that, so you can check that out. Cool. Mary, practice. All right, there we go. That's the key. Thank you so much. Patricia, thank you for being here. Thanks everyone for being here, and I hope you have a wonderful week, and I'll catch you guys next time. All right, take care.